Save the Semantics, episode 134. It is December 31st, 2020. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for 20 minutes or so, or however long I feel like, about just kind of random shit going in my day-to-day. It is the last day of 2020, which, bears some significance for a lot of people, I guess including myself. I feel that, I don't know, it definitely doesn't feel like the end of the year, obviously, just considering how, tumultuous everything has been. I think, but just giving people some of that, give some people reprieve of just, the fact that, even though things haven't changed very much, even just kind of a turn of a calendar can kind of bear some significance to them. So I just, I kind of want to just hold that same level of, hope, I guess, just for, a better year, obviously, and, continued health and safety of people and that sort of thing, I've, I've been in and out of, the news lately, in terms of, paying attention to it. I don't exactly know too much about, the current proceedings with, the vaccines. I know that the, cases just everywhere just kind of, continue to rise, which is kind of expected. Hearing from things in, sort of the LA area, I know that, a lot of, or just based on what I've heard from, other, from, commentators and, YouTubers and stuff, a lot of people are just kind of, a lot of businesses and stuff are just being relaxed about the whole, social distancing and whatnot. And, based on my very brief kind of interactions with people around where I live, that this also seems to be kind of the case. I very much have stayed within my own sphere. I really haven't, I haven't interacted with anyone, physically at all, outside of, the people, my parents and, just whenever I go, shopping or whatever. I've really just kept it to myself this entire year, really. I haven't done any of that, so, hopefully things change, relatively in the new year. I mean, I think, obviously, I think, I think we shouldn't take the fact that we already have a vaccine for granted. I think that's already just amazing, I don't know, how, I feel like people are kind of shit's bad, and so, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different perspectives on it, but, my perspective right now is the fact that I think it's amazing, the fact that there's already, essentially, some sort of a preventative cure for this disease within a year, which is insane. The fact that, these, people can just work so fast to get, results in that sort of way. So yeah, I'm happy that there's definitely some hope for the future. I think now, with just kind of a lot of other variables thrown into the mix, some people are kind of falling into, some level of despair, if they haven't already. But I think, obviously, in my position, the fact that I'm able to work right now too is, I'm very fortunate in that regard. So maybe I'm speaking from my perspective in that way, but I'm just I'm feeling a little more hopeful than, I was early, maybe in September or October, so I'm hoping that, there's some momentum in that regard, I know there's a lot of other shit going on with politics, obviously, but I'm just hoping that there are some things, some changes that will happen, soon, obviously, right? That's pretty easy sentiment to go by. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about everything going on, so I'll try to stick to what's been going on around me. Again, not a whole lot. I've just been busy with work, which has been good. Um, and I've just kind of been, I've been sort of figuring out what I want to. I don't know. I've been thinking about like, I mean, it's hard not to talk about just like the future and stuff, but I've been thinking about what I'm gonna do once things kind of start to, when we can kind of see things getting a lot better in terms of like people, sort of people being able to get back into like a public space and whatnot, in a safe manner, right? Like, I think I do want to try to kind of get back into much more like exercise, obviously. Like, that's always a goal of mine, is just to like be in decent shape. And right now, I mean, I'm in okay shape. I think I'm doing all right considering everything, but I would like to kind of get back to, maintaining a decent routine, which I feel like I've lacked for like the last 2 years, I went on a run like last Sunday, and it was just like I was so sore. I mean, it was also my fault that I didn't like stretch or any of that like before or after, which is really fucking stupid. That was really dumb. Like, I was like, I should know that, coming from like a former like former runner, former committed runner, like I should know that I should have, done that before delving into some high endurance exercise. Like, that was really stupid of me, but I was just so tired and so sore. Like, that soreness carried for like 2, 3 days, which is ridiculous. And I only ran like a little over a mile, it felt like, so I want to, I do want to kind of get back into running shape for sure. And, maybe I'll try something else along the way. Like, if there's anything else that I could, like, fit into my schedule, like, I would be willing to try something. I don't know. Like, I've always thought about doing, maybe not always, but I guess relatively recently, I've thought about kind of doing something like martial arts, maybe. Like, I think that might be kind of interesting, something really different for me. Um, like, I feel like doing something like that would give me kind of, I don't know. I don't know if a reprieve would be a good word, but just like another form of um, just exercise and kind of something to put my energy towards outside of like, I don't know, other shit. And I think for the most part, I've been doing a pretty good job in terms of like maintaining a solid um, schedule in terms of like things that I need to get done. Like, I think I've been pretty consistent in that regard. So I've been happy about that. But I think, obviously it's hard to, do everything. It's hard to do anything right now, but once things kind of open back up and, it's safe to do like extracurricular things, I would love to try to get back or get into something new like martial arts. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of just speculating at this point. Like, I don't know if it's, I'd obviously want to kind of like, ask around and see if, what people kind of say about those types of things. But I think maybe just in terms of me being more disciplined, with certain things, like maybe doing martial arts would help me with that. So yeah, I don't know. That's something that I've been kind of thinking about, um, among other things. But I would say that for sure. But exercise is like a huge thing that I kind of want to get back into. Really, I haven't really been running as much just because I've been trying to stay safe, and I've noticed that when I do like go run at like the park or whatever, it's always fucking crowded, man. Like, I just like, especially right now, I'm trying my best to kind of avoid people, um, to the best of my abilities and whatnot. So like, I'm trying to, I'm kind of apprehensive of going to like a public space like a park right now. So um, yeah, again, that's something to take into consideration for the future. Other things, I feel like this year I miss huge thing. I miss going out and eating at places. like I've done, takeout and shit, but it's usually from the same places just because I know what I want to get and it's easy to order. But definitely once I feel comfortable, I guess I would, love to try new places to eat. Like this, like this year, like this just not like this year has really fit kind of my way of going about things, if that makes sense. Like I've always never been the type of person to take risks, like take like very super like out of my comfort zone risks. Like I don't usually do that sort of thing. I mean, like going out and trying new food is really not that. I feel like it's not that much of a risk take, but I want to try to do other things too. Like I've always brought that up throughout like the years I guess that I've kind of been recording and stuff, but I'm hoping that I can like I think I don't know some regrets that I might hold uh, due to like some of the things that in college that I wasn't able to do. Like I want to try to do it now, I guess. I want to try to do it like in the near future, if that makes sense. Like obviously I wanted to travel like after college. Um, I'm thinking that again it might be a while, but I would like to travel. At least when I'm relatively young. Like I mean, whenever like it's just possible, I would like to do that, travel and do some shit. Because I feel like um, I've been kind of constrained in that way. Like I feel like my experiences in terms of certain you know certain things have been kind of limited. I think maybe I'm again I think that just comes from me like comparing myself to other people's college experiences, and I don't think I should do that, but it's hard not to, right? Like it's hard not to be like um kind of look back and be like, oh, there could have been times where I could have done that or I could have done that, but I think it's just kind of counter like productive to do that sort of thing. I think just looking forward, I want to maybe I want to try those things, right? Like I don't think it's I don't think it's too late. I think I'm just kind of being, kind of bitchy about it. Just because, like, obviously, like, I wasn't really able to celebrate my graduation and that sort of thing. So I do want to, like, in the future, whenever that might be, even if it's like a couple years down the line, I would definitely want to do, traveling. I want to try to do some new things, kind of, that I'm kind of able to do, sort of like I don't know, independently, I guess, like or whatever, like if I have like a friend or companion, like I'll just whatever comes up, I want to kind of dip my toes in a sense, especially after just being in place for so long. I think I've talked about this quite a lot this year, but I've like this whole period of time kind of like it does suit me in a sense where I'm comfortable where I'm at in terms of like I like you know I like doing things on my own in the sense that I like just chilling by myself, and I've always done that, um, but I feel like I don't want to get too comfortable with that, because then I don't think like there isn't really like a chance for me to maybe grow and again experience new things. So like I don't want to be I don't want like to discourage myself from doing shit just because there was this huge period of time where I wasn't really able to do anything, So I mean I think a lot of people I'm hoping a lot of people kind of share that sort of same feeling, like this is just kind of like the anxiety of going out really. Like I think that's really, you know, that's something that is going to be something that I'll have to deal with, but I think I'll be like all right in that regard, Um, yeah, I just want to do something that's a little different, but, you know, but also kind of take into account that like it's okay if I'm not able to do it in this period of time, right? Like I I don't want to like regret things. You know what I mean? I'm sure like it's people obviously feel the same way, but like I just don't really want to fall victim to kind of this feeling of looking back and being like, oh, what if, right? Like that's that sort of mentality. Like I never really have that. I never really felt like I was like, things happen. I wouldn't necessarily say like, I don't know if I really would say like things happen for a reason. Like I would say like things happen and then you kind of have to just adjust to it and not have to, and not, you know, stop like working like retroactively and kind of just, continue to kind of progress forward without, thinking too much about the past essentially. Um, anyways, yeah, I've just kind of been not yeah again it's just this period of time I haven't really done a whole lot, but it's been good. I've deleted Instagram for the time being. Like I'm just I haven't used that at all. Honestly, I just think it's been kind of, it's always sort of been like a waste of time. Um, not much of really like a statement there, but like for me, like I really didn't do anything on there. Like I don't post. I don't really like interact too much. Like once in a while I have like a group chat with people, but like that's very rare. So I just didn't feel like there was really any use out of Instagram, and I know there was like that whole thing about Instagram like using your data for shit, which is not really that surprising, obviously, just because now that it's owned by Facebook, it's really not surprising that they're fucking up your shit. um, I also got rid of Reddit on my phone, which I think has been a pretty big thing, just because that's been such a routine part of my day for this last year or so. Like these last few weeks, like I haven't really used Reddit at all, and I feel like that's been good for my like mental health in a way, which is kind of funny, right? I think it's always funny, like people are like talking about how using like Twitter and Facebook and like Instagram, like the big social media apps, are kind of a detractor in terms of like your own well-being. But for me, it's been Reddit. Like I get caught up in like just like some fucked up threads of like people just super down on their shit, and I get that, right? But like it just affects me so much, like seeing very personal stories from people, and like it's I think it's good to have empathy for those types of people, but when you're just bombarded with just constant stories of just shit going bad for people, you're like, okay, well then shit's going bad for me too, right? Like you kind of relate to that on a certain level. So like, maybe I should feel bad about that. Like maybe that's my own personal weakness in the sense that like I can have empathy for something, but it also affects me in a negative way. I don't know. But yeah, I think just getting rid of that was, a good idea. Like I'll sometimes hop back on, um, not through the app, but like, through my web browser, but it's just like limited consumption, Like I don't like there's just so much like with Reddit. I feel like that's like, I mean, this goes for like most social media platforms as well, but for me specifically, in my experience of using Reddit, like I think that there are a lot of communities that are dedicated to like very specific things. You know what I mean? Like there are stories of, I don't know. There's a whole subreddit called Pro Revenge. I think that was what it's called, or it was talking about getting back at someone who fucked you over, and it's like, oh yeah, people relish in the fact that they fucked people over, and I've talked about that before. Um, then there's also like there's relationship advice, which is it's entertaining to read stories about people's relationships falling apart, but it's just messed up in that sense, right? Like these, I don't know how a lot of the stories are probably fake, but there's obviously got to be some stories that are real and genuine, and some of them are heartbreaking. There's just people losing their livelihoods, people the relationships that just completely collapse in on itself because of a lie, and there's a PI involved, and there's a fucking affairs left and right. Like that shit is just so, I don't know. It's crazy to kind of see shit unfold on those like stories, on those posts, but it's just not like, I don't know, it's not good to, I feel, consume that type of content for extended period of time. I didn't really frequent the subreddit too much, but even just glancing at it, you're like, Jesus Christ, man, this is brutal. Other subreddits like, what else? What else is there that's kind of toxic on Reddit? There's a lot of shit, but I don't know. A lot of I also feel that the general Reddit kind of hive mind sort of mentality toward things is just so is kind of is negative. There's not a whole lot of hope portrayed by the average Reddit user, and it shows just like throughout all these posts and whatnot. It's just talking about just, oh man, we're fucked. It's just like, it's so I think once you're kind of stuck in that loop, or once you're in a certain community that focuses on certain things, like if you're focusing on, I don't know, if you're on a subreddit that's critical about certain things, you know what I'm talking about, like specific subreddits talking about, I don't know, what is there? There's was it like Instagram reality? What I forgot what it was called, but it's the one where they show Instagram models or people on there that you know that are clearly photoshopped, to you know accentuate their physical traits or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, it's obviously, I think it's good to call out people that do that sort of thing, but I don't know, there's like only so much you can really do with that type of content. Like I just don't think that's like, it's just not worth the time. I think it's like Instagram reality, I forgot what the fuck it's called, but I don't know how much you could really, you know all the posts relate to the same thing. I mean, it's kind of funny to see how much people Photoshop their bodies to look like, they have curves and whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe that was a bad example, but you know what I mean. There's other subreddits that are like hypercritical about certain things, and I don't think it's like good to continue to consume that type of content on a regular basis. Like it just kind of gives you a warped sense of reality and shit. So yeah, point being, I've kind of gotten rid of Reddit to out of my sort of daily intake of shit, and I feel like that's been a good thing. So yeah, that's I it is kind of funny now when I wake up, when I turn to my phone. I'm just kind of I don't know exactly what to even look at because I don't have, it used to be like I go to Reddit first, kind of scroll there, see if there's anything interesting, and then I go to Instagram, and I kind of flip back and forth between the two throughout the day. But now that I've gotten kind of rid of those, like I just I have Snapchat still, but there's nothing on there, so it's just kind of funny. Like I just go on there, maybe I'll maybe there maybe I get something from a friend, and that's it. Like this just kind of I don't even know what to do with my phone anymore. Like what's the point, right? So but I think it's been good to get those things off my phone, make it less easy to reach. Now I have to go to my computer and then go to Reddit, which is still pretty easy to do, but not as easy as just unlocking my phone and going straight to the app. So yeah, I'll probably keep that going for at least a little while, just because like I think it's if it's working, I feel like it's working for the most part, just in terms of my overall, I don't know, happiness maybe. So yeah, that's what's been up. I don't really have that much else to talk about. I guess we're ending it on that. for 2020. And it'll probably be a little while before I record the next one, just because, I have, things in my schedule and whatnot. So whenever I have time in the next year, in January. But that's going to be it for 2020, which is pretty fucking crazy, whoever's listening, I hope you're doing whatever you are to stay safe, stay healthy, and, let's hope for a better year, obviously. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.